Hi, gamers and developers, and welcome to another GDT vlog. Today's vlog is about Godot Wild Jam, and I'm going to present the theme here in a little bit, but first about the jam. So, the Godot Wild Jam happened in February, and essentially it's a jam where you have to make a themed game in Godot, and you can use wildcards to add optional themes. So, the jam is about 9 days, and the theme for this Godot Wild Jam was curses. So here we have two people from the team who represented GDT, and their game was Curse Fred. They will talk about it in a little bit. And I'm going to ask to each one of you what was your role during the jam and how many jams you participated before this one. So we can start maybe with Patricia.
Okay. I was an artist in this jam, and I've been in many jams before this one. Actually, what I did in this one, it wasn't anything new for me. Um, and even the art style, it was a choice in terms of being practical for the other artists to collaborate as well.
Mm-hmm. Nun?
I was a programmer and also took care of the audio portions. I think this was my third or fourth jam, I believe. So still new to the whole thing.
Yeah, so two very different perspectives here. So the two team members we have here is Patrícia Henriques and Nuno Ribeiro, and there were other three members from the team, which were Ricardo Subtil and Lucas Figueiredo, who also worked as programmers, and Kit, who worked alongside Patrícia as an artist. So my next question for you guys. Now this is more about the game itself. So like I mentioned, your game is called Curse Fred, and I want to ask you guys, what is the game about?
Okay, so it's a little Metroidvania where you start out as this guy called Fred. And in the beginning, he has all his powers, all his abilities, but suddenly he's cursed and he falls into a pit, and then he has to, walk his way through this labyrinth to get his powers back and remove the curses so that he can escape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, I'm glad you mentioned it. That we will talk a little bit about that later. But I think the mechanic that from making the powers disappear suddenly is very cool. So yeah, we will talk maybe. How did you guys come up with this idea and the idea of the game in general?
Um, I don't know. I think we started from trying to think where we could fit the curse theme. So one of the ideas in the beginning was to do a sort of like roguelike where you'd have a progression where you'd lose the curses over time and become stronger instead of what usually is the other way around. You get buffs and you get
Mm-hmm.
stronger. So then I don't remember who came up with it. Uh,
The Metroidvania part, because we changed the genre, and it was due to a conversation we had. Because I was playing Castlevania Symphony of the Nights back then, and I started talking about the game and how Alucard loses all his weapons in the beginning of the game, and then the conversation continued, and when we noticed that the game had changed its genre.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty much like that, and it's the name of the character also um has a kind of funny background, if you ask me, because I was designing the character. I was the one making the sprites, and when I finished, I look at him and I said, it kind of looks like Friend from Scooby-Doo
Yeah,
because of the color scheme,
I
and
agree.
then we roll with it.
Yeah. And like I said, I think you guys ended up with a great idea because I played your game, and it's a short game, but I think it's very addictive because you start with a tutorial, and yeah, you learn all these abilities, and suddenly you lose them all, and I felt so betrayed. I loved it. I just wanted to get my abilities back, and yeah, I think that was a great idea, and yeah. So, what was your strategy to develop the game in just 9 days? Because that's such a short amount of time.
Yeah, I think it was, at least on the programming side, it was doing things in parallel. For example, I was in charge of the player controller. Uh, then I believe it was, I actually don't remember who else was assigned to. I think it was Ricardo was assigned to work on the map and the level design, and Lucas was more on the enemies and a bit of the
Hmm.
combat system, the whole health and things like that. So we split the work and we could work in
Yeah.
parallel without disturbing each other or like colliding. So it was a way to
Hmm.
do more in less time.
In the art department, like I said before, we decided to go for a pixel art style just to have everything in time because it was easier for both of us to make the assets. That's why we chose the pixel art.
Hmm. And I think the end result was, with, like I said, very entertaining. I was very entertained playing the game. So yeah, I think it worked, and you guys did an awesome job. Um, to you guys back at home, of course, you can check the game. It's in our GameDev Técnico itch.io page, so be sure to go play it at the end of this vlog. So yeah, so on to the gem itself and your experience with the gem. So what did you guys learn throughout the gem? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I had never worked in Godot before, so it wasn't a way to find out about this engine, how to work with it, and it was very interesting. I actually quite liked it, and after Gem, I even tried to play around with some more things in Godot because I'd only ever tried Unity and Unreal, so it was very interesting in that sense.
From my part, I didn't do anything new. All I did was what I did in other gems before this one. But I think the problem I faced was more related to the time I had to do things. I think I could have organized myself better than I did. But besides that, I didn't learn anything new. I
Hmm.
didn't deal with
Okay.
anything new.
Sometimes it's just a matter of adding games to your portfolio and experiencing new things, and yeah, I think that's still a good experience. At least for my part. I don't know about you guys, but yeah. So regarding that, now that we're talking about it, what would you guys do differently about the your game and during the gem and strategy and idea?
Uh, well, I think the game, if we had a bit more time, it would have a cooler finish part section. We wanted to add like a small boss fight in the end, but we had no time. So I think maybe with some better organization, we could have fit it in there somewhere, somehow. But there's, in these things, there's also, you have to coordinate several people and getting like schedules together is kind of hard.
Mhm.
So we did what we could.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the dimension of the game we went with, I think it would benefit if we had more time. Not only to polish what we have, but it's a Metroidvania. Normally, Metroidvanias needs more areas to explore and all
Yeah.
that, so it would benefit of the more time to work on it.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree with in that part. That's definitely. I think, like I said, I liked your game. I think it's very addictive. But yeah, I think if you guys had a little bit more time, you could put that game very polished. So yeah. Regarding two moments during the gym. So you have talked twice before about having not a lot of time to complete the game. So what were your worst moments during the gym?
Uh, I think maybe the final weekend where we had to kind of cram to get everything in there, especially
Yeah.
when with even delivering the game, I think it was delivered like 1 minute before the deadline or something like that. It was very tight. Especially because, for example, I was barely uh, I didn't have any time to work. I think it was on Sunday or Saturday. So it was very hard to see my colleagues struggling and I couldn't
Yeah.
really help. that was available.
Only watch from afar.
Yeah, exactly.
See them being tortured. Yeah, I agree. That's one of the worst moments. What about you, Patricia? You also agree with this?
Yeah, definitely.
I
uh,
yeah.
yeah, we I at least I was until the last moment finishing the sprites and animating Fred. But I think what I managed to do in the time we had, I think it turned out great.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of find it funny the way he sometimes moves because of the pants and the
Yeah.
weapon I gave him. It was supposed to be like a cyberpunk katana, but I don't think it translated well. But it looks stabby the way he attacks
Yeah,
something.
it does. That I agree with you. I also love the death animation because it just floats. It's very cool. Yeah. So I'm very impressed that you were still doing sprites at the last moments of the gem, but that's very impressive. Typically we have the artists come here and say it's very stressful the last days because we cannot do anything because all is done, and we can only watch people struggling and thinking, will my sprites get in the game? So it's very impressive that you were still doing the sprites at that moment. Did you manage to get all the sprites in the game?
I think we missed. I missed some of them, but they were very minor animations
Mm-hmm.
that we could replace for others that
Okay.
were already done because I focused my work on the most important animations, and then everything else was kind of a bonus. Let's say, let's call it like that. That's why I think it works. The assets I did, the animations I did, because I managed to get what was important done, the most important done.
Yeah.
But in terms of making sprites in such a short time, this wasn't actually my worst. Because my first gem, I also worked with pixel art. I was sick, and I managed
Terrible.
to make most of the sprites we needed in just one day. I don't know how I did it, but I did it.
You did it. That's very nice. That's a very difficult thing to do, at least I think. But yeah, now that we have the bad parts out of the way, comes the best part. So, what were your best moments during the jam?
Um, I think on the programming side, after we got the first things all mapped out, like the first levels were starting to come up, the player controller was already halfway there, and the enemies was also starting to pop up. It was very cool to see all the three things come together and see, okay, this kind of works, and we can work from this. I think that's always a cool moment to have.
Yeah, I agree
I
with you.
I always like the brainstorming part when we start making the first drafts. But when I'm working on animations, I love when I'm seeing what I'm doing working. I don't know, I feel like a problem, I guess, because I'm
Yeah.
seeing the character design moving, and yeah, it's such a joy.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. At least for my part, I'm a programmer, so I love seeing my stuff actually being pretty and nice. So yeah, and I love when the things work. So yeah, I agree definitely with you. That's one of the best moments. So regarding the gem itself, what did you guys think about the gem?
I think it was very nice. I think the theme was interesting. I think even the wild cards, I think they were very interesting. And like maybe with some other planning, we could have included one or two, maybe. But I think it's cool that there's a visible theme, and you can limit yourself further if you want that extra challenge. I think that's a very interesting concept. Other than that, I think everything went smoothly. There were also no problems when delivering, like there was no crashes or big problems. And yeah, I think it's a good initiative to get people into Godot.
Very nice. I think we all should learn all engines because yeah,
Yeah,
that's all. always a very nice skill to have. So, what did you think about the gem, Patricia?
In terms of the team, it was interesting, but it wasn't that big of a deal in terms of the team. Um, I loved the team I worked with, but in terms of the team, it wasn't the most impressing gem I've worked on.
Mhm.
Sometimes I like when there's more restrictions, but it depends on what we're actually doing. But yeah, I think in terms of the team, it was very neutral to me.
Okay, okay. And now that we're talking about it, is it a gem that you guys would like to be on next year, or the next gem that is of Godot? Because Godot Wild Gems, I think, happen more than once per year. So, would you guys like to participate in the next one?
Uh, Maybe, yeah. I think it was, as I said, I think it was interesting to work with Godot, and I think
Yeah.
it would be interesting to do it again and see what we would do differently.
Hmm.
And that's always interesting.
Yeah, I think maybe it's something that goes more onto the programmers and less to the artists. But maybe you
Yeah.
can tell me that,
Mhm.
Patricia.
Yeah, to me, it wasn't anything new, like I said
Yeah.
before. But I would do it again just because it's a gem, and I like to work on
Hmm.
gems, and that's pretty much it. It wasn't anything new
Hmm.
to me.
So yeah, so I think more in this case when the gems. Well, this is more for you, Patricia, because like we mentioned, the Go dot aspect is more for programmers. But in regards to the time you had to make the game, did you like the 9 days time frame? Would you like more time, less time? Because that kind of varies from developer to developer. So yeah, what's your opinion?
Maybe a little more time, but I've already done other gems that I had less time. I think in the end it comes to how I organize my time,
Hmm.
because I've done gems that last like 2 days,
Yeah,
and we managed to have. I think that time we managed to have a 3D game where I made two 3D models, fully rigged, fully animated. So it depends on how I'm organizing my
yeah, the
time
design
in
of the game. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, okay.
I think I could have done better in terms of that department.
Okay. That's always something that we can think on. So sometimes we have games we are more proud of, games we are less proud of. I don't think they make them less important just because we're just not as proud of them. I think it's always good to gain experience with these things, and yeah, kind of figure that stuff out. So yeah. So my next question to you guys is maybe a hard one. Do you want to keep developing the game?
I don't know. I think Metroidvanias are very complex because they are highly dependent on level design. So it's a very difficult genre to just pop out of nowhere. But I think I like the ideas that we have. That mechanic of losing the skills. I think it's an interesting one, and I think it can sprout new ideas. So I don't know if I would keep developing the game, but I think it's a good stepping stone for something else.
Yeah.
If the rest of the team agreed, I wouldn't mind of actually finishing what I've started, but
Hmm.
it would depend on the rest of the group. I would be up for it if they wanted to continue.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of an asset that I expected, because sometimes it's quite hard to figure out if you want to keep continue working on a game or just move on to the next one. So yeah. So my last question for you guys, so you can think a little bit about this one. But this is what is your advice to the viewers back at home regarding anything? It doesn't need to be about this gem in itself, but anything about the game developing. What is your advice to the viewers back at home?
Um, I think the biggest advice is just do something. Just try and make a game. Just try. If you want to get into it, the best way to do it is just get into it. Just join a jam. alone or with a team, doesn't really matter. Even if it's not a jam, try to pick a simple game like Snake or Flappy Bird and try to do it on an engine that you don't know about. It's always a fun way to get to know the engine,
Yeah.
to train like your brain in how am I going to design this thing. And I think at least it's uh, more fun to do it this than just watch some tutorials online, which usually are very
Yeah.
boring. So
Mm-hmm.
just do something. It's probably going to work uh, way poorly, way worse than you think it is, but it's a learning step.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I don't have anything to add to that, so I'm gonna ask the advice from Patricia.
Gems are a great way to be experimental and try different things you haven't done before. And don't be afraid to make something that it's not finished. That's why I think the gems work very well, and you shouldn't be very worried about having a very polished final work. And sometimes what you get from it's actually very interesting. It can be the start of a new project. So don't be
Yeah.
afraid to try anything new in terms of making a game. And yeah, keep on jamming.
Yeah. Love that advice. So you heard it here, guys. So please say this is advice because I think both of the advices are very good advices. So yeah, here you have it. And I think that's it for today. So thank you guys for coming. And thank you for talking about your game today. And to you guys back at home, thank you for watching our videos and our vlog. And of course, always keep updated on our GDT social media. Go watch our other vlogs, go watch our YouTube channel or Twitch. Watch everything you can because it's always fun and we are very cool people. So, yeah, that's it for today. So, bye, guys. Bye.